You have been watching Afraid of the Dark on Soundcheck from Visual Radio Arts. But who are afraid of the dark? We have no idea, but let's find out. First of all, we'll introduce you to Ben. Ben, you play guitar, but also I'd like to find out what you listen to and what influences your guitar playing.
So at the minute at home, I listen to actually a lot of more ambient electronical music. Just it almost gives a break from playing guitar music almost every day at college. So, yeah.
Well, that makes a lot of sense because the sound that you've got is a very kind of atmospheric sound which you use on that. I can see that in a lot of the electronic music that you would be listening to on that. So that's a good sound. And what influences you and your guitar playing?
Guitar playing wise is probably, I think the main one is Igor from Daughter, very similar sound, but there's a few Irish punk bands like Fontaines DC and the Murder Capital, which have that still sort of that distorted shoegazy sound, but it's more in a punk fashion, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Gwen, let's talk to you now. And so what do you listen to when you're at home, and what influences your vocal style?
Well, my vocal style is probably influenced a lot by Dodie because I used to play a lot of her songs when I was younger. But songwriting-wise, again, a lot of Daughter, a lot of Phoebe Bridgers. I like listening to a bit of Mazzy Star at the moment as well.
Yeah.
Very strong, impactful lyrical content artists.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll come back to songwriting in a moment. Let's move over now to Louis. You're sat at home of an evening, you've got the stereo on. What is on your stereo?
Usually something quite loud. I'm into Ladybird, into Slaves, that kind of sound of things.
Okay.
The sort of East punk kind of thing going on, which
I don't know Ladybird, and obviously I know Slaves.
Yeah, well, they're same cloth sort of thing. But yeah, it's just usually stuff that's very raw emotion and not much else.
What influences you as a bass player? Is there any particular players that you think, okay, that's where I want to get my sound from? Or
I mean, like bass specifically, like Colin Greenwood from Radiohead, he brings a lot to Radiohead, which is obviously a lot of competition there in terms of like making noise, but like in terms of just instrument wise, like Frank Iero from My Chemical Romance, in terms of how I pick up an instrument and look at it and make that sound how I want it to.
Yeah.
I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, no, good influences, good influences. And finally, if you pass that over to Joe on drums and guitar. So we've got a bit of a Dave Grohl thing here going on here, because no one knew that Dave Grohl was a guitar player and a singer, as well as a drummer. So you're kind of in that sort of territory. But what do you listen to when you're at home?
Well, I mean, I mainly listen to like a lot of psychedelic rock, so like King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard and Hawkwind, Pink Floyd kind of stuff, and that kind of influences how like I play the drums, because like especially King Gizzard, they do a lot of really fast like fills and stuff, which I quite enjoy doing and adding into songs.
Yeah, no, I can hear that in that. You know, it's a good sound and a good influence as well. A good influence. Okay, let's talk a little bit about songwriting. So, who's involved with writing the songs?
I think it's mostly me that writes the lyrics and the chords for kind of the base of the song. So it's normally I'll go home and write the music at home, and then I come in with almost the finished lyrics, or at least a verse and a chorus, and then I put it all together. We come in with the band. I mean, the way that I write songs at home is I write poetry in my spare time, sort of when I'm on the bus or whatever, but poetry doesn't often translate to lyrical content as well, especially the sort of poetry I write where it's more of a train of thought rather than prose. But then so I will go home and then take phrases out of those poems and put them to chords. So it's a bit of a mishmash. I don't think there's a right or wrong way of doing it.
And what influences the actual lyrical style? Is it based on life experiences or imaginary stuff?
It's mostly based on life experiences or concepts of like how my mind works. So it's all very personal, really.
Okay, that really comes across. Now, converting that then into a band piece, how do you go about the remaining three of you? How do you go about actually making that then into a song which is less a singer-songwriter thing, but a complete band solution? How do you go about doing that?
Well, I think usually like we have kind of like an idea of like where the loud and quiet bits are pretty much, and we sort of just kind of fill in like what we think should kind of go where, and then kind of, you know, see what each other think of what's kind of happening. I mean, occasionally, for example, with the drums, like Gwen will sometimes say, "Oh, can you do like some tom like hits there?" And so I just kind of add those in. But yeah.
I think, to be honest, it usually starts out as quite a mess, like a sort of 30-minute jam of not much, and keep that on.
But then, you know, from your guitar point of view, you know, you've got to pick out, you know, how you're going to play. I mean, there was a variety of different styles that you're using there.
Yeah.
Let's just talk a little bit about that for a moment. How long have you been playing guitar for?
So I've been playing guitar for about 3 years now, I think, possibly 3.5.
Okay, so that's a very short period of time.
Yeah.
And what kind of inspired you and made you think, okay, fine, do you know what? I want to play guitar. I've never touched one before.
Weirdly, a band called Parcels from Germany and Australia. They're a funk band.
Okay.
I just saw them up on stage and they're having loads of fun, and I was like, I want to pick up guitar. So, yeah.
Excellent, excellent. And as I'm with you at the moment, if you were to give advice to a young band starting out, bearing in mind you're all a young band, you're all at college together, aren't you? Yeah. Which college do you go to?
Bath College.
You go to Bath College. Yeah. Okay, so what advice would you give to a band starting out, seeing you tonight, and they're watching you and think, God, I'd love to do that. What advice would you give?
I'd say just be open to trying whatever the whole band wants, not like be broad with your options of where you want to go.
Yeah.
And it means you won't get stuck in like, oh, I just want to do this. Like, you're probably going to have fun whatever music you end up playing, because as long as, you know, like, your friends in a band and you all get along, like, you're going to have fun whatever you're playing, and it will be the experience you're building anyway. So don't pressure if you're not in the exact genre you want to be in.
Yeah, that's good advice. Good advice.
Yeah.
Gwen, let's just move over to you now. That's that one there. Perfect. Right, so you're giving advice to somebody starting out. What would you...
Post your stuff where you can and accept the opportunities that come out from that, because a lot of the times when you're going out and talking to people and saying you're a musician, or you're posting about the fact you're a musician, you'll end up in a place where you get more opportunities, and surround yourself with other musicians that can find you either a band or gigs or whatever you need, really.
That's good advice. That's good advice. And where can people see stuff on Afraid of the Dark? Where can they catch up on you?
Well, every week at the moment at college we have a thing called Playthrough, which is posted, which is on the Bath College music page. Yep. But otherwise we have an EPK, and all of our social medias are under Afraid of the Dark UK, which is quite easy to find.
Okay, all right. And social media, which ones do you use?
We've got Instagram and Facebook. Instagram
and Facebook. And at the moment, you've got nothing recorded, but you're kind of, I know you're sort of heading in that direction. I know you want to do an EP.
Yeah. So the plan is with college, we've got to do some sort of project by the end of our second year. And so me and Gwen, for ours, we're recording an EP for Afraid of the Dark. Yeah. Ben is sorting out a music video, as well as some sort of adjacent stuff. Joe's doing his own thing, but of course Joe's helping us all out with being in the band. And so once that's sorted, it was kind of an excuse to go, well, we can record something, we've got the facilities to, we might as well use that to do something we need to do as a band.
And the one piece of advice you'd give to somebody starting out?
Like, it's cool to say, like, get yourself with like-minded individuals and make some friends, but I think it's more about letting you shape other people and other people shape you in terms of, you know, a whole thing, because it's not about a guitarist, a drummer, and a singer getting together or whatever. It's about people making music.
That's a really good answer.
So even if you want to play, you know, or maybe you want to sing, right? Yeah. But you've got like 3 singers. You know, it's fine. Either make that work, and like create a completely new genre of try singing balalaika players, or just just try something else. You know,
Okay,
it's all
we're going to
good.
watch out for some balalaika on the,
It's-
on the EP. Joe, let's move over to you. What advice would you give? Bear in mind, you've now heard 3 lots of advice. You're thinking, oh gosh, hang on a second.
Just a combination of all three. No, I think in terms of like getting into bands and stuff, I mean, I think probably just that classic thing of just surround yourself with like other people like that do music stuff. And then in terms of taking that band further, just like sort of almost kind of play what's right for the song and all that kind of stuff. Like don't like sell out, but also maybe don't push what you want too much, so that it ends up being a little bit heavy on like something that maybe doesn't suit, like for example the genre, and just
So
kind of having like
don't overplay.
yeah,
is what
and
you're
just
saying.
kind of have
Yep.
like a nice kind of compromise kind of thing that where you're just kind of making the songs as good as they can be, and
Fantastic.
also just taking any opportunity to perform as possible.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to a very nice point just to finish up with then. What have you got coming up in the way of gigs?
I'm looking at Louis. Well, so tomorrow we're playing at Nunny Acoustic, but tomorrow is going to be 2 weeks ago for everyone watching. And the other thing that we might be doing... Yeah.
So in Chippenham, there's a group of a studio called Riverbank Studios, and every year, except for the last 2, because you know there was something on, they do an open mic battle of the bands kind of thing. So like in the finals, you win like recording time in a studio, or like a music video shot, that kind of thing. And as a bit of a late one, but we've put ourselves forward for that.
Okay.
Which, you know, it's should be good to...
All right, well, we'll give this a little bit of a push as well. So any bookers out there, there is a band here that's up for playing. So there you go. We'll watch you very carefully. Obviously, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram. Thank you so much for playing tonight. Thoroughly enjoyed it. You've put on a really good show. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and watching, and catch us on the next Soundcheck from Visual Radio Arts. Thank you very much, and good night.